All right. Hi, I'm Heather, and this is going to be another one of those things where I don't know if anybody's ever going to fucking see this, and I actually don't care. I'm really making it for myself because, like so many others, I identify as a verbal processor. And so that means I need to say things out loud in order to like work it out. And I don't need a person to be on the other side. I don't need a fucking therapist to talk this shit out. I don't need a friend to be sitting there while I do. Honestly, because most of my friends, like, if you still play with your hair, like for real. If you don't play with your hair, like get on it, play with your hair. All my friends are so sensitive. Like we all feel like every fucking thing that's happening in the world. And I'm not really saying that's a bad thing because honestly, I sort of feel bad for people who cannot feel what's really happening around them. But the downside is that if you have a whole bunch of like really sensitive friends, it's kind of hard to if you're having a hard time, sometimes no matter how much they love you, they just don't have the bandwidth. Oh my god, that one's kind of cool. They don't have the bandwidth to be with you when you're feeling big feelings. So yeah, I don't have to protect any fucking buddy while I'm talking to my buddy YouTube. And really, what I'm doing is exactly what Louis Armstrong did, except so much easier for me. So I need to remember to watch his full biography. But yeah, basically he obsessively recorded and journaled and cataloged his life. And I do the same in a lot of ways, but I just don't happen to have to, yeah, it's just not as fucking hard as it was for him. Shoot, I spilled something and it grosses me out, so I've got to clean it up. So yeah, I'm practicing. I just fucking do everything my way. And the conventional wisdom of how to be with YouTube is different than how I use it. And I don't give a fuck, because again, it's for me. However, I also know that so many people I know will say things like, I just want to be seen, or I don't know how to feel my feelings, or there's nobody, I just feel so lonely, like there's nobody around and I don't think anybody else feels the way I feel, and I'm a lone ranger, I'm a lone wolf, I'm afraid to feel my feelings, like all that kind of stuff. Yeah, well, here I am. I'm going to let you watch if you want and learn if you want. Because I have been practicing for years, and I am brave enough to be one of those folks. There are more and more of us every day, if you look around. Be one of those folks who go ahead and steps forward and says, you know what? Life isn't always pretty, and I'm going to go ahead and let you see me cry. And if you feel like you want to make fun of me, that's your fucking problem. If you're uncomfortable with my emotions, that's also your fucking problem. But if you want to practice like really being with somebody and learning how often actually you'll hear other people have very similar experiences and feelings and perspectives as you when it comes to things that are painful. And then, if you hear other people talk about it, sometimes you actually don't even have to feel all the feelings because you just listen to somebody who's had similar, and you're like, oh, I feel so much relief. Okay, I'm not quite as afraid of feeling the feelings of that particular hard thing, because not only am I not the only one, but I saw somebody go through it. So yeah, people who know what I'm talking about will know what I'm talking about. All right, so I'm going to clean this up. And I'm just going to mute when I'm not recording because that makes it easier for me to cut out the silent bits. Yeah, I'll be back. So some of the things I've been working through is, I'm live on Art of Processing. And I know that like our channel intro trailer probably gives the feeling that like we're mostly going to be talking about trauma and feelings and that kind of stuff, and that is true. Somehow there got to be this idea though that business or talking about work is not okay to talk about in like authentic relating spaces. And that's fucking bullshit, because you know what? Self-employment, well, I guess anything can be a spiritual practice, but I specifically want to talk a lot about how being self-employed is a spiritual practice. And each sort of way that I'm currently self-employed has its own ways that it's a teacher. So I spend a lot of time pet sitting. There's many, many ways that that is not only a practice of self-discovery, but it's also an opportunity to really discover, like, what works best for you when it comes to, like, if you're one of those people who likes to be able to see all your stuff, well, guess what? When you're alone pet sitting, not only do you not have access to cupboards typically to put things away, you can use every space whatever way you want. You don't have to use it the traditional way or the way that the owners use it. I mean, I use a little family room that actually nobody ever sits in. I guess it's like, this house is so big that it has a bunch of rooms that nobody ever uses. I wonder how loud that lawnmower is. Oh well. Yeah, the little family room has some futons in it. That's where I put all my clothes. I have little organizers from IKEA that fold down that I put all my clothes in and have them all in one area. And then all of my other bins are in that room too, in another area. So except for my kitchen stuff, which is in the kitchen, obviously, and my bathroom stuff, obviously in the bathroom, everything is in one place. And it's not my bedroom, because my bedroom's upstairs. And so, I basically, what works best for me in a space where I'm living alone is a lot of my stuff is out visible. I don't worry about stuff being on the counters, and I use only what I need of the space, because I have to clean whatever I use, and but also there's a bunch of spaces that are so beautiful or different from where I normally am that they would make excellent recording studios. So that's another thing I love about pet sitting. So I know I need to talk much more about how pet sitting is a practice of self-discovery and habit change and opportunity to process, opportunity to, you can treat it like a retreat, a paid one. I believe it's genius to get paid to do stuff like get educated. You get paid to get educated by working for somebody who's paying you to like learn and practice the things. You get paid to self-discover and be on retreat and spend time doing art and writing or whatever it is that you love. And your life becomes basically a tax write-off through pet sitting. DoorDash and delivery, that becomes a practice of self-worth and discernment, as well as, smart choices. And Lyft, I hate Uber. Lyft, as a rideshare driver, is a spiritual practice of discovering and communicating with all kinds of different people. And, well, not all kinds, but you know what I mean. Little micro conversations, and there are so many different ways that I've explored rideshare being a spiritual practice. And my favorite thing about especially delivery and rideshare is I now have many years of data that where I can prove it directly relates to the amount I made and the amount of time it took me, always directly related to kind of where I was in my life and how how people perceive me as they were in my car. And so I'm excited to just to literally have income data and everything that goes with that to substantiate the spiritual practice aspect. So that's cool too. I have so many projects that are waiting to be made, but I can't do them all at once, and there's no reason to do them all at once, so I just set the ideas aside. Okay, what else was I going to say? Art of processing as a location for me to work through business stuff too. Because also it brings up every fucking trauma and trigger and everything you've ever fucking had. Like, let's get real. But again, you're getting paid to work through your triggers and your trauma and to discover what really works best for you when it comes to creating and working. I'll tell you what works best for me is getting paid to go to other people's beautiful homes, because I won't work in one that I don't want to be in. Get paid to go work in beautiful homes, to co-regulate with lovely dogs. Usually, every once in a while there's an asshole, and to spend time in whatever way is best for me without the influence of other people's expectations and needs. So I don't set a bunch of appointments out of the house when I'm pet sitting. So over time, I've discovered and tracked, like, what are the best foods for me to have available? How often, generally I want to eat really simply. I eat a lot of white food group when I'm pet sitting, a lot of air fryer stuff. Try to make it as easy as possible on myself. I've discovered some of my favorite snacks. I've discovered the level of cleanliness that feels good to me. I've discovered how completely crucial it is for me to move my body every day in multiple ways, like walking and just stretching and moving. And I've learned there's a great deal of adaptability that's created, and neuroplasticity is activated when you are in novel situations. And so finding myself, basically, I'm in a new place. It's really, to me, not any different than traveling to a foreign country or a different part of, the United States. I am unfamiliar with the area. I don't really know how people do stuff there. And the natives, the dogs, speak a different language than I do. But we're usually able to communicate pretty well through, miming and careful listening. I'm going too far off, but yeah, that was basically the breakthrough I had this morning. Is I have been resisting talking about business stuff and art processing. So like, nobody wants to listen to business stuff, but there will be some who do. And this is where I kind of continue to evolve through thought processes or things I want to talk about on my business channel, Scrappy Entrepreneur School. And over there, I don't want it to be so damn messy. I don't want it to be like a processing video. I need to process over here. And once I've kind of worked through it and figured out what I want to say in my professional space, then I go over there. Sometimes I even practice, like what my professional video be, practice it here, because again, practice, smart. Preparation for conversations, smart. I don't know where everybody got the fucking idea that people like me, I am autistic, but really, like, one of the things I do, obviously, is prepare. It's not obvious. I'll take that back. One of the things that I do is I prepare for conversations. Many believe I over-prepare. Honestly, I believe most under-prepare. And if you spent a little more time preparing, you might not have so many fucking hardcore, ridiculous conversations that go fucking off the rails because you said something that came out really wrong and you were too discombobulated to recover and the other person's already all blah. So, you know what? Thinking about it in advance, processing through your shit a little bit before you talk to somebody, and having some idea of what do you want out of this conversation so that it just doesn't go completely off the rails. Mature in your communication and approach to other humans by being prepared when you come to them. Don't waste their time with your whatever. Getting off track. Okay. So I need to getting all set up to work is takes a lot of my executive functioning, and then also kind of overtakes my creative side, which actually, neurologically makes sense how it's all set up. You can't really do both. That's a fallacy. You can be creative and use your logical brain at the same time. So I'm going to silence again. I'm going to name environmental factors that I want to listen for when I am editing. Is the lawnmower next door just went off? That sound is probably a nail gun, is my guess. Okay, I'm gonna shift back in, hopefully to creative mode, and go from there. So while I was on my creativity break, reconnect break, um, just gonna, okay. I was doing a lot of thinking and a lot of note taking, and that was good because I want to try to get better and better about, yes, letting myself be in the flow, communicate. Oh, okay, I'll take some more. Starting to have a potential flare up of a foot issue. I better check and see if I have castor oil pack supplies here with me, or if I need to go home and get some. Kind of want to go home at least briefly. I don't know if it's necessary though. Okay, I cannot remember if I brought them. I remember thinking about it. I'm kind of thinking I didn't. Okay, I took for granted that I'm haven't had any flares of this foot issue for a long time, and I gotta, as much as possible, have my foot up. And what's also really interesting is my friend Lindsay recently had a real issue with both her ankles, I think it was, maybe her feet also at the same time, and like literally forced to stay off stay off them for a while because it was so painful, or I don't remember all of her symptoms. I didn't listen to her whole message. But anyway, and then my friend Azaria, and mind you, both these people have felt such extraordinary levels of pain in their lives. All three of us have had extensive firsthand experience with chronic illness and chronic pain of all kinds. Why do you keep like buzzing me, you little fucker? Sorry, my watch is very distracting. Oh, is it noon? Let's see. It is. Oh, so pretty soon I'll be reminded to take some supplements. Okay. All right. So yeah. And the pain level was very high for both of them. Azaria was saying it was it was so extreme on her knees that she just couldn't believe it. So for these people to have such extreme levels of pain is pretty impressive in a scary way. My foot thing is similarly so extreme when it's happening that I if I do not keep it completely still, I'm just like gasping in pain. So the nice thing is mine does often go back to fine if I just take some curcumin. Okay, I gotta write down that I gotta remember to give George some of that if he keeps camping around. And I gotta get my notes, and I gotta get my mouse, and I gotta. Okay, so I like to pretend I have an office mate because I did used to like some aspects of working with people. However, my extremely high preference is to spend as much time working alone as possible. That way I do not get interrupted, because that makes me nuts, because it's really hard for me to come back from wherever my thinking space is or my feeling space is. And if I get interrupted, man, it takes so much longer to do stuff. So I guess that's a pro tip. If you feel like things you do take forever, guess what? It takes longer if you're constantly getting interrupted. So is there some way that you can find yourself a space where you won't get interrupted for a while? You know what? Pet sitting is a good place, a good way to go someplace where you don't get interrupted for a really long time. Okay, so I'm still setting my shit up. Okay. Just keep this way. Oh yeah, why not? Okay. Well, I think it's because I didn't really want my face in shadow, but I'm just gonna, you know what? I don't care. It doesn't matter. All right. So, a question I think everyone should ask themselves on a really regular basis, especially when working, is how could I be 10% more comfortable? And so the answer for me just now was go get my long sleeves, go get my fuzzy socks, get a way to put my feet up, that kind of stuff. But you have to notice it before you can do it. All right. Under video ideas, I got to write down a playlist of dogs on their backs. Because I think that's adorable. All right. It is time to take that medication. I am not going to right now. I'm going to have to make some food soon. Okay. That would make me more effective. All right. So let me try to just plow through some of these bullet points because I don't have time or energy to go into them right now, but I do. Basically, I call it breadcrumbs, where I just leave a little bit of info. I don't care that one of the ways I do things my way is I don't need to be in the fucking center of the video. I'm not here to manage your distractibility. So if you don't like the way I'm doing something or everybody else is doing something a certain way, like, I don't fucking care. Are you so distracted by the poor lighting on my face that you can't listen to what I'm saying? Like, that's not my fault. I don't need to change what I'm doing for that. Anyway, okay. So one of the all right. On the full moon, I went to a sound bath outside in a beautiful garden that a gal I'd never met before, Pamela Siri, I don't know if that's how she says her last name, is the yoga teacher. And I guess she does yoga on full moon in parks. And then my good friend, I can't say good friend. It's not like we spend a lot of time together. I just like her a lot. Maybe that's a gal I like a whole lot, has been practicing sound baths and sound bowl stuff. And she wanted to do a sound bath for the yin yoga. And I guess last month they also were there after yoga for a little while. And Liz said, "Hey, I'd really like to, do a sound bath at one of your full moon things." And then this other guy was like, "You know what? I have a gorgeous garden. Why don't we do it there next month?" That's magic. And the garden was fucking awesome. Okay. Oh, and the sound bath was at sunset. And I was able to lie under a bush and only had people at my feet. And there was a person who every time the breeze kind of came my way, it made me sick, but it wasn't awful. Okay. I learned that there's a cycle in my astrology that is, I have returned to the exact positioning of a lot of stuff as was in 1989. And so cycles that began in 1989 are coming back again. And there's so many ways that's fucking exciting. 1989, I was graduating high school. I was getting ready to go to college. I was deeply unhappy and confused and felt unsupported and felt really fucking weird because we didn't have running water in my house, and I, used an outhouse, and I couldn't shower all the time, and I didn't want to shower at school, and I had all kinds of fucking problems. And going to college was terrifying, and I knew was my ticket out. And I got really lucky and fell in with some amazing people right off the bat. So that's at Lewis and Clark. So I started at Lewis and Clark in 1990. And I am not far at all from Lewis and Clark. I can walk to my old dorm if I wanted to without really all that much effort. But the difference between then living in a tiny dorm room with a brand new friend I didn't know at all, and learning in a completely new environment where there were literally as many people on campus or who attended the school. I don't think it was just on campus. No, I think it was. Anyway, there were literally as many people associated with Lewis and Clark as lived in my entire town, spread out through like so far. Like a friend of mine lived, I don't know, 30 miles away or something, and that was one end. And so anyway, 4,000 people, year-round residents, spread out like that. So I go from that all of a sudden to there are 4,000 people within a 2-minute walk of me. And I guess what I'm realizing now is that yeah, okay, I'm not going to try and say it out loud. I don't have the words. Okay, so I've been feeling like shit because I have had problems at home with housemates, and there's a lot I've had to process. And I'm trying to, right now I'm in this stage where I'm like, oh gosh, this is how long it takes sometimes. And when it's a root chakra thing, and totally fucking crazy making, because I mean, like literally I have proof that they're being nuts. And then having my partner wrapped in it a bit, and so there's challenge there. Like that sucks. It makes me feel like shit. Again, though, the cycle that's different now is I do a lot of pet sitting. I spend a lot of time alone in beautiful homes. I love having a whole house to myself, like so much. And having a dog really be all I need to kind of track. And I don't do big emotions around the dogs because it does stress them out. They don't know me, but they're worried about me. So I go in other parts of the house where the dogs won't be disturbed, or I go outside or something. But I don't. Maybe that's one way you can notice if your energy might be really harsh for other people to be around, is if you're around a dog and you're feeling your feelings and expressing, and the dog is like kind of freaked out. That's probably how humans feel around you too. They just don't show it in the same way. Okay, let's see. Oh, also what's happening that's interesting, similar to the 1989 cycle, which really started the cycle started in 1989. 1990 is when I started college. Close enough. It's part of it. Whatever. So also, my friend group has gotten together almost every single year since college for at least a weekend. And this is one of the very rare years that I'm not going to be in attendance, and it's happening next weekend. So also coinciding there. In 2019, I wrote myself a mantra, creating a fuck yes life, one breath, one moment, one choice at a time. And sometimes I would look at that and go, okay, what are they really meaning by that? And how am I doing that now? And I just realized as I was out on my walk with George this morning that, again, this place I'm in now, being so completely opposite to where I was in 1990, but still so close. Like it feels like completely different worlds. And in many ways it is, because I didn't even know this neighborhood existed. And it was literally like, it's less than half a mile from where I was where I spent all my time for 4 years. Didn't know this place existed. And I had never gone past the boundary of the grad school, which is across the street. I didn't even go to the grad school because it was a convent. It was a convent at the time. Anyhow, I'm just saying, like the boundaries of my existence and awareness were very small and very overwhelmed. And practically adjacent to that world, my world, was this world. It existed then. I didn't know it existed. And now here I am in 2024 as this astrological cycle is beginning again. And I am now in that alternative universe that always existed, but I never knew it did. And now just like one breath, one moment, one choice at a time, in incremental, consistent progress. Now at 52, yeah, it took a while. But you know what? Fuck, maybe it won't take so damn long for people who are younger and don't have who have avoided some of the decades of trauma that someone my age wasn't able to avoid. Anyhow, so here I am in this alternative universe, and I'm hoping that it's becoming clear to those of you who kind of are aware of the concept of there being parallel universes, and also noticing in our world since at least 2020, it's like mind-boggling how different some people's perspective are of each other, and you're just like, how could you possibly believe that? Like wherever you are on that, we're it makes sense because we're just in different parallel universes. They all exist at the same time, but there are people in some universes who cannot fucking fathom someone else's life. But they're all coexisting parallel universes. Yeah. Oh, okay. I gotta reset this time. Reminder to call my kid, but she's at work, so I can't call her right now. I don't know why I have that alarm set like that. It's got to be an evening one. See, I have a hard time. Like, okay, I think I know the magic time to call her. I think it's often around 7:30. So I'm gonna set that for 7. You know what? Why try to remember to call my daughter? Of course, I want to call my daughter, but it's just I forget what day it is. I forget how long it's been since I've eaten, let alone how long it's been since I've called somebody I love. And so I set alarms. What's the shame in that? I mean, I really have talked to people who are like, oh well, alarms are so annoying and blah blah blah. Well, isn't it fucking annoying to forget shit? And isn't it annoying to hold all that shit in your brain? Like, I don't get it. Like, just set reminders. You know what? You could treat this amazing, incredible device, this astounding device, especially compared to my childhood when Star Trek was like crazy futuristic. And now I have something far cooler. It's far more powerful than the communicators Star Trek had. Anyway, this can be your executive assistant. One of the things a good executive assistant does is tracks your calendar, reminds you when something's coming up, sets time on your calendar to prepare for say you have a big meeting. You can't just go walking into it without thinking about it or preparing. So yeah, a good executive assistant will block out time on your calendar and be like, this is when you need to work on this project. And then your executive assistant will kind of check in and be like, hi, how'd it go? Do you need me to set another block for you? Yeah, this does all that. All you do is like program it real quick. It's been like 15, 30, 45 seconds to have a automated reminder. So embracing that is fucking smart, honestly. Resisting that is teenage willful like disregard for like the fact that people might know something more that you don't know and might be willing to kind of share and show you and teach you these really good strategies that I've learned through decades. And so basically the only people that I think it is developmental stage appropriate to be like, I don't want to be reminded by my phone. I hate alarms and teenagers. That's who it's appropriate. 17-year-olds, totally appropriate for a 17-year-old to be like, I know better than my mom, and in some cases they're right. My daughter was right in a lot of those cases. However, there are a lot of fucking adults who are still resistant in the exact same way that stopped being developmentally appropriate, around 19 or so, 20. Like, I'm looking at my daughter and I can tell she is perfect. She is appropriately prepared and like mature enough in every way to be able to maintain a really incredible like career level job at 21. And there's no fucking way I could have done that at 21. I was a fucking mess. But you know what? If I knew her, I would have been like worshiping at her feet, trying to learn what she knew. I would not be looking at her and go, yeah, you're full of shit. You use alarms and reminders and stuff to help you do stuff like remember to drink your water or remember to eat or, remember to make phone calls and appointments. Like, that's fucking stupid. That's a teenager mentality. Embrace your tools, free up that space in your brain and you'll actually you'll have a little bit of time to think about the things that are important and stop belly aching about, I never get anything done. Well, you know what? Because you are devoting time to stupid shit. And I just went off the track. Okay. Quick story that my therapist many years ago taught me. All right, so say you're walking from, pick two places that you walk all the time. Someplace you leave and someplace you walk to. All right, so on the way there's a street that you go down and there's this big hole in the middle of it and you fall in. That sucks. All right, the next time you go walking down that street, you forget that there's that hole and you fucking fall in. You know, and it takes all this effort to get out of that hole, right? So then like the third time you go down that street, you know, a couple weeks later, you, oh yeah, there's a hole. I'm gonna walk around it. Awesome. That's great. You might even have, if you're really kind of a dipshit and really don't pay attention and learn, maybe the third time you actually go down, oh yeah, there's a hole, but you don't walk around it. You still fucking fall in it. No. That's not a bullshit. That's just part of the process. Yeah. Okay. Start over. First time, fall in the hole, you didn't know it was there. Second time, you forgot the hole was there and you fell in. Third time, you knew the hole was there, but you didn't know how to go around it, so you fell in. Fourth time, you go, oh, I can go around it, but I still know the hole's there. And then, you know what, maybe the fifth or sixth time, you're just like, I don't want to go down that street. I'm just going to go a different way. Good. Okay, statement to keep in mind, new experience of old stimulus. The spiral concept, how the same things kind of keep coming around, or the same sort of energetic, but it's at different levels of the spiral. It can be a higher level of the spiral, or you could have devolved into a lower level of the spiral. And I guess I need to be careful about judging that, because goddamn, I've spent a lot of time in the lower areas of the spiral. And part of my, what I know is my purpose is to basically be proof that no matter how fucking deep and fucking dark and how fucking horrible that those bottom levels of the spiral are, it's possible to climb out and be in higher levels of the spiral. So, yeah, keep in mind, you might be on a different level of the spiral, so don't try to have the exact fucking same experience. Experiences as reflections of you and your internal experience, your internal self, how you're projecting on those around you, what your filters are, like whatever's happening outside of you, whatever state your room is in, however you take care of your body, however people are treating you, whatever that is, all direct reflections of the universe being like, hey, these are some things, you know what, would improve your life if you kind of worked on them and kind of did something a little bit different. So I'm just gonna keep pissing you off until you realize I don't have to be pissed off about this thing that keeps happening. I can instead just try to do something a little bit different, and then that doesn't piss me off as much. Okay. Reactivity level. That's another thing that I challenge people to reflect on. What developmental stage is it appropriate for the level of reactivity, maybe the level of immaturity, the level of no tools because you haven't learned them yet. When is that developmentally appropriate? Again, I think it's somewhere in the teenager years, into your 20s at varying degrees. Like obviously you're going to be better in your mid-20s at stuff than you were at 17. So allow that progression, or else you continue to be a fucking, you become a really fucking immature adult if you keep holding on to doing the same shit you've always done. Okay, I gotta go take a supplement and do a little check-in. Yeah, that's something that's important at work during work blocks, is take frequent breaks. I questioned whether or not it was good for me to follow a traditional work kind of structure of like take 2 15-minute breaks and a lunchtime. No, this bullshit. That's only good for the fucking company. That is not fucking good for me. I work when I'm in the flow to work. I take a break when when it's time for me to take a break or before. And but I still have discipline around how long I work. To an extent, I actually overdo it. And yeah, I can get a lot done in less time. So I don't need to go work. I don't need to work for 8-9 hours a day and get more done. I just do it in accordance with what feels right and what feels good, with discernment and maturity, mind you, um, uh, and like excitement for progression. Things are a lot easier when that's the case. Okay, and then now I'm going to come back to this. Okay. To silence that, so I need to remember not to. I'm practicing asking myself the question, how could I be 10% more comfortable? How could what I'm doing be 10% more like beneficial? What could I do to make what I'm doing more even more in alignment with all the stuff I talk about? Okay, so I want to check on the environmental factor. How loud is that motherfucking what is it? Blower maybe? No, I can't tell what fucking device it is, but it's goddamn loud because I think it's like 3 fucking houses away. At least it's not the goddamn shit that was right next door that even through a fence and a bunch of bushes, I could fucking smell the goddamn fuel. I wish people were more mindful about how many fucking poisons they put in the air. And do they have no fucking idea how it's actually impacting them? I don't feel anything. You know what? Because you're not aware of it. All right. Here's how I take a break. I go and touch some nature. I talk to the plants. This, do you know how good this feels? I'm not hurting it. I'm just being like, hey, Patty. Oh, look at all these little tiny flowers. And look at you got some that are already getting some color. And then, wow, you know what? That feels so good. That feels so cool. Hi, I saw a face. Oh my God, look. Okay, so we got your ears right here, and this little head, and then got some eyes and a little nose that kind of sticks out, so that it really looks like. I mean, I don't know. I can't. I don't know, but it sure looks clear to me. I just don't think the camera would pick it up. Okay. All right. I also do all that movement I was doing. Hopefully, I remembered not to delete. Oh my God, that looks incredible. Hopefully, I didn't delete the silent part of when I was moving. And I also want to hopefully remember to come back and get these hydrangeas. I just don't want to move the camera around a lot right now. Okay, so I'm going to keep stretching and shaking. And shortly, I'm going to go out to that grassy area and do some movement barefoot. And because the sun is coming out, I want more sun on my skin, which is good for you for a little while every day. So I'm going to change my clothes. And I hope I remember to come back and all right, so process note. Let's see. I'm gonna see if I would be able to rewind the live to see if I'm showing up. Yeah, actually, also, I don't care. It doesn't have to be perfect right now. Okay. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Okay, this is too much trouble. I'm not gonna do this anymore. Oh, I see. There you are. No, that's okay. All right, I'm gonna go change my clothes like I said, so that I get more sun on me, and gonna go in that grassy area. And I'm gonna mute. Okay, I'm just gonna leave. Talk while I change, and because I got some more pro tips about my process. So anytime I see a really high quality pre-made bone broth, I buy it. If it's affordable, like it's usually not, unfortunately. God, I hate that goddamn lawnmower. Like, you've been lawn mowing for so fucking long. Okay. Oh yeah, bone broth. I saw some at grocery outlet that at Zupan's was $10.99, and I got it for $5.99. I really should go back and get some more, because I could always put it in freezer bags. All right, there's another motherfucking loud thing. God, I hate that. Well, so I guess that's another way. That's another way to like say, you know what? Conventional wisdom about YouTube. I know it's annoying to have background noise, but god damn it. Sometimes again, you just got to control your own distractibility. And I'm going to be way over there for a while, and it's not like there's going to be a lot to hear. I guess, again, this is going to have to be one of those silent bits that I hopefully don't delete. Okay. Cabbage is a really good white snack. There's all kinds of reasons why doctors told me to be eating it, and I think organic cabbage is actually tasty. So another little pro tip: it's crunchy and yummy, and it stays good for so long in the fridge. It's amazing. All right. All right, so I know there was a lot of that was not visible, so I suppose I can cut all that out. But what I was doing when it wasn't visible is lying in the grass, including doing things that included George in my stretching. He came out, and oh my God, so cute. I want to make a whole playlist that's just dogs rolling on their back. when they're really, really happy because, God, it's cute. I guess I'm going to go back. And I have realized recently that when they're doing that playfully, like rolling around and like smiling and leaving their belly available for a little bit, a lot of times that's an invitation to come rub their belly because they're saying, I'm so relaxed and I know I can be playful and I can show you my belly and you're not gonna kill me. I can show you my belly and my throat. And so I think it's a connection thing. I was unmuted. Oh well. Was there anything really important I wanted to say? Oh, yeah. Okay. So while I was laying down in the grass and relaxing, a lot of people know grounding, where you literally come into contact with the ground, is a very calming and energy clearing activity. And so, as much as possible, and it's often possible, I get my bare feet in the grass or more of my body. I don't want to say grass, on the ground. My preference is actually natural ground, but what's available now is perfectly manicured grass that's really comfortable to lie on. So I was practicing that grounding practice while George came over next to me, and while we were both just laying there, I had my hand partly on him. I had a hand on him, and I just let each limb relax. And then he rolled on his back, and he's obviously just like smiling so big and so happy. And he held the position with his neck completely open and his belly completely open until I came over and rubbed his belly for a little bit. And I realized that because I've had a lot of dogs do that for me, with me, and most recently with a German Shepherd, I think is part of what helped me realize it. But that presentation of a playful belly and neck, throat presentation is, I trust you so much that I want to play with you. I want to be with you. I know you're not going to rip my throat and belly out. Like, it's kind of a big deal. And so if people just kind of don't take that opportunity to connect with the dog, again, anxious dogs. Okay. So the next progression, if somebody is arrested at, teenager, 17, 18, somewhere in there or younger, then, hopefully they will realize, they will choose to do something slightly more mature and step more into the maturity level they would be at, say, college age. Doesn't matter if you went to college or not, or if you want to go to college or not. It's beside the point. It's just at that age, those early 20s, you're meant to progress. You're meant to learn new things. You're meant to learn from your environment. You're meant to find mentors and other adults that you can look up to and learn from and respect. If you do that appropriately, well, then you keep learning about your resources and you keep finding support and you start to grow up. If you just basically keep choosing to not do that, you're still a teenager. God damn it, fucking grow up. I know so fucking many 30-somethings who are still 17 at best. And it's so exhausting. Okay. All right. Especially those of us who are, I don't know, I say 40 or older, question everything. Because we have lived through humongous cultural changes and evolutions. We have evolved from a place where the generation before us had, in many ways, reached a point of militaristic automaton and repression of feeling. So, I mean, is it any wonder that the environment many of us was steeped in as a child and teenager was a lot of extraordinarily traumatized, often physically and sexually abused adults with very few models of appropriate and appropriate behavior, very few resources or access to resources. And they lived in we grew up in an environment of therapy is terrifying. Medication means you're fucking crazy. If you go to you go to the hospital, the mental institution, it's like an insane asylum, and it's terrifying. So if you think about it, like everything that could potentially be helpful and beneficial was not available. The information about it wasn't available. Nobody even fucking knew about like somatic processing or PTSD or any neurodivergence. That nobody was fucking aware of that until pretty surprisingly recently. So, yes, raised by extraordinarily ill-equipped adults and environment. Then we learned a particular way of being in school. We learned a particular way of doing projects and learning and, follow a syllabus, follow a path. It's terrifying to go off on your own. Choose the road less traveled by is like a poem that could not possibly be real to many folks in my age range, because that's just what we grew up believing. We grew up believing your brain can't possibly change. Once it's fucked, or once you reach a certain age, it never changes, and you're fucked, and you can't learn anything new. That's been proven wrong. Also been proven wrong is memory mostly sucks. So it is not appropriate or fair or reasonable or smart to base all of your decisions and choices and reflections on memory alone. Okay. So yeah, question everything and then make your own choices and ask yourself, okay, when I was younger and I asked, why is that? How do you do that? What is that? How are you treated? How are you responded to? Chances are good it wasn't friendly, it wasn't helpful, and it wasn't, supportive. So it makes sense. You're afraid to ask for help and you're afraid to try something new. And we were all forced into fucking boxes. Like, you have to do it this way or you did it wrong. And it's not acceptable, and you get a bad grade. So, like, yeah, we're punished for doing our own thing, our own way. So, question everything, and do not follow the system unless it works for you. Choose your own. Take some time. But, how are you treated when you're curious or upset? Okay. I started to write a list of then and now. So then in 1989, I had no access to cannabis. And in fact, even the tiniest amount of cannabis could cost your entire livelihood in the state of Alaska at that time. If all you had is an empty pipe with residue in it on your boat, you lost your boat. And on my 17th birthday, I very narrowly missed dying by the deckhand who was on wheel watch at night, got high, fell asleep, ran us aground into huge fucking rocks, nowhere near rescue or anything. We were completely up on the rocks, and a hole was torn in the hull, and some water was coming into the engine room, but most of the water was the hole was in a water tank. So it was supposed to be full of water. So that's why I didn't die on my 17th birthday, because somebody smoking cannabis and falling asleep. So yes, I grew up with extreme fear of the presence of cannabis, of the getting caught with cannabis. However, I knew from a young age that it was a magical plant that was an extension of Mama Gaia and could be extraordinarily beneficial. It is perfectly suited for an endocannabinoid system within our bodies, within our brains. And so I've always known that it has magical properties, it has healing properties, that it was an ally for me. But in order for it to be, because it was so terrifying, I've had an extremely complicated relationship with cannabis. Now, it has finally been legal recreationally for quite a few years in Oregon. It's become more and more accepted. I no longer fear I will lose everything if I am seen or known to use cannabis. I do not have to buy it black market. I don't have to do anything shady. I can't believe I got through my entire adult life until it became medically legal without buying any black market weed. I always made somebody else do it. So yeah, I spent years and years and years without cannabis, which was very challenging for me because it is an ally and it is very helpful. I spent many, many years being shamed and fearing it because, of course, I was judged as an addictive user, an excessive user, because it works best for me to dose frequently. And the thing that really fucking confuses me is if a doctor gave most people I know, if they give them a piece of paper that says you can have this chemical thing in an orange bottle, it's not always orange, but and it will help you feel better, and it's dosed 4 times a day or more, that would be perfectly fucking acceptable. How come? Because it is a plant that naturally grows and that has been proven to be highly beneficial to the human system, why in the fuck is that shamed? Luckily, not so much anymore, but it still is. There's still a lot of people out there who be really fucking judgmental about cannabis use. It's getting cold again. Okay, I'm gonna see what the weather's looking like to see if I'm gonna put more clothes on or go inside. I'm gonna start with more clothes because I don't like having to reset all over again. All right, next notes. Okay, so I'm working through some stuff in my household, and I know lots of folks work through similar things in their household, and so that's partly why I am recording my processing of it to a pretty big extent. So a lot of it's currently unlisted just because I have to review it and make sure. I don't know. There's this common conception that if you name anybody, then you're like, you're like an asshole. When I'm like, but it's kind of, I have to use names in order to even understand what the. Yeah. So I have been processing it a lot. And what I've come to is I am going to utilize the medically supported and suggested accommodations for meetings, in that they are recorded so they can be returned to. Any decisions we make are written and reviewed now and then to make sure we all have the same understanding. I will pre-record a video that will say what I want to say in kind of the open share of our time of our meeting, and utilize those resources to support myself and honestly them too, and do something different. So I realized that I need to, at the beginning of the video, need to make some assumptions, because I know and share what those are, kind of in the same way as, like, I don't know, some sort of, anyway. I will share what the assumptions are so that hopefully as they're listening, they'll remember all of this. And I'm practicing, because practicing is helpful. God, there's more fucking machines. I'll go in soon. My notes are almost done. And a couple more things I wanted to say about what I was just saying. Okay, I also had no access to psilocybin. It was also shamed. It was something that was only used recreationally, as far as I knew. And recreationally is a totally different thing. I don't think it doesn't do, I think, the same healing work when you use it recreationally. But using it very intentionally and thoughtfully and in a process of self-discovery has been extremely helpful for me, including microdosing. And now it's easy to learn about that. There's lots of access. That's awesome. The other thing about the generations before us is, if you think literally about a lot of the common sayings, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Obviously, that's wrong. I grew up in the school of hard knocks, or I learned in the school of hard knocks. It was like a badge of honor to aspire to, and that's bullshit. Sort of in the same way that my God, it's really impressive when a person goes to war and and they live through that and they do something really incredibly brave and they receive literally a badge of honor. That if you're put in the position of having to be in war, then that's something to aspire to. But if you're not actively in war, why would you want to recreate that as like, oh, I'm going to go ahead and live out the same thing. Because it's, respected to be from the school of hard knocks, and that it's used as an excuse for being kind of a, asshole, then it's not something to strive for. Okay. You're not a war hero if you went to the school of hard knocks. You're just somebody who had a rough time, and I get it, and I think it's a good description, but it's not something to aspire to. Okay, so here's the assumptions for housemates. So I'm hoping that by stating some foundational assumptions that I've made, and I'm hoping and believing that we would all share. I'm going to state those so that as you listen to me, hopefully, these will help put some context into where I'm coming from, and hopefully minimize confusion or misunderstanding of stuff I'm saying. And if you think I said something kind of off, then come back to these assumptions. So the first one, I'm assuming none of us want to continue the dynamic that we've had for the past 3-ish years, because this is the same dynamic as in Yale House. There just happens to be 2 less people participating in it. So that's one of my assumptions. Nobody wants to continue that dynamic. Another assumption is it feels terrible to go to meetings and feel stressed. It feels terrible to be highly emotional. It feels terrible to yell at and yet be yelled at. So any yelling feels terrible, I'm assuming, for everybody. So those are a couple assumptions I've made. Another is that at varying degrees, we're all willing to try to do better. We're all willing to try something different. We're all willing to just at least do the best that we can. Incremental progress is all that can be asked for. Maybe like, I don't know. So this is where I go off rail a little bit. Maybe I would edit this out if I ended up using this recording. Okay. I'm also going to assume that we're all willing to at least do our best to do better, to be in more integrity with the agreements that we've made. And if we feel like an agreement needs to be revisited, then we bring it up. I'm assuming that we're all willing to do that, do our best. I want it to be also clear that small incremental progress is all I'm ever asking for. Never a big leap from somewhere that I'm saying, hey, I'm not, whatever. Okay, I gotta start over. All right. I'm also assuming that we're all willing to at least make our best effort at doing something different, hopefully something better, that moves us in the direction of all feeling more comfortable and safe and happy to be in our home. I also just want to make it clear, all I'm ever asking for is progress. Even small incremental progress is to be celebrated. And really, I think is the only way for big progress to be made is lots of incremental progress. So please believe that's all I'm ever asking for. And also I'm making an assumption that we all have different standards of everything. There's a range. So like, say for example, my standard of fragrance is none, and Paul's standard of fragrance is it's light to him. So he doesn't understand why it bothers me. So there's a range of standard there. And so I'm hoping we can find some place where I can feel safe and not be afraid that being home is going to send me to the emergency room. So, also the range of cleanliness awareness. I think we can all agree, Rob and Tatiana and I have a different level of cleanliness and a different level of willingness to invest time and energy into attaining that level of cleanliness. I think the three of us are similar, and I know we are at a very different standard of cleanliness that's totally cool than Paul and Brian. That's totally fine. I've never ever wanted everybody to be at the level that me and Tatiana and Rob seem to be in kind of agreement about. I don't ever expect Paul and Brian to aspire for that or want to or do. That's not an expectation. That's why I ask that we, rather than try to go to somebody's standard of cleanliness and not defaulting to the lowest standard, we instead find a place in the middle where everybody's happy. And that is, I think, most easily done by just saying, hey, please put in a couple hours, put in 2-ish hours a month, and that's all we really expect of you, and obviously clean up after yourself, then, everything's cool. That's far easier than saying, hey, I think you should clean things as well as I clean things. I've never said that, and I don't want to ever say that. That's not my goal. Okay, so, yeah. And I think I should probably repeat because I don't know how long that took. All right. So the basic assumptions I'm bringing into what I'm going to say. And I'm hoping everyone can agree that these are reasonable assumptions. Number one, none of us enjoy or want to continue the dynamic we've been in for the past at least 3 years. We brought it with us from Yale. We didn't bring Ricky and Tux, but we brought the dynamic. So I'm assuming no one wants that anymore. I'm also assuming that everybody would prefer to do their very best to do different and better because they prefer to do that than move out. I'm assuming that's true. I'm also assuming that there's an understanding that there is a range of standards for just about everything. For example, cleaning. Paul and Brian have a different standard. Perfectly reasonable for that to be the case. Rob, Tatiana, and I have a different standard of what level of cleanliness we really like. And we're all pretty much in agreement. Paul and Brian pretty much in agreement. Great, that range is fine. And I'm sure Tatiana and Rob and I, we've frequently said we don't expect Brian and Paul to come up to what we like is clean. We just want to ensure that you're making a fair, reasonable, and actually pretty small contribution to the home. So 2 hours a month, clean up, and also clean up after yourself, great. So that's all, that's one standard, that's a range. Another range, but this one is one that we really can't have a range, is my standard of fragrance is none. Tatiana's standard of fragrance is using up what she has when I'm not home, and Paul's standard of fragrance is, well, it doesn't bother me, so why does it bother you? Obviously, that's a big range, so again, that's fine that exists. We just need to come to a place where we can all agree whether or not my health and potential for anaphylactic shock is more important than a preference for using fragrances. So I'm hoping we can come to some place and some understanding on that. But again, there's a range, and all we got to do is just talk about the range, so everybody knows you're not having to match someone else's level of effort or anything. So yeah, those are the assumptions. Again, I think I went on too long, but I'm getting better and better. Okay. All right. Cool. I got through a lot. So, George, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this one. Whew. Go make some food. Reset for the conditions. It's getting sunny and warm again. Whew, excuse me. And yeah, come back.